NZSAS, baby. First Among Equals documentary reaction. Hope y'all enjoy this bad boy. If you new, you know what to do. Let's get into it.
These are never-before-seen pictures of one of the world's fighting elites, a branch of the international military known as Special Forces. In small patrols, these soldiers undertake covert missions, far beyond the capabilities of conventional forces, often deep.
Man, my first thought is that's a lot of cats on one helicopter. Sure hope it don't get shot down.
Behind enemy lines. New Zealand is regarded as having one of the world's best special forces, having fought in many major conflicts for over half a century.
It will go in, and if the task is possible to undertake, it will do it and it will achieve the objectives.
All right, we got to address the it. We got superheroes here. Man of Steel, Wolverine. We got something. X-Men? I don't know, but they its. I love it, man. I love it. They not even calling them humans. They calling them its. 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 Gotta love New Zealand, baby. Gotta love it.
New Zealand Special Air Service Group is an elite Tier 1 special force.
Yet despite ability for warfare in any terrain, there is almost nothing known about the New Zealand SAS. The unit has a strict no publicity policy, which they have rigorously upheld since its inception on the 1st of May 1955.
We need to maintain a level of secrecy so that we don't compromise tasks that are currently underway or potentially future tasks.
But its role in the global war on terror has taken the unit from the shadows and reluctantly placed it in the spotlight. In this series, our television cameras have been granted unprecedented access to New Zealand's most revered unit for 2 years. You will glimpse exclusive footage inside the world of New Zealand's Special Air Service, better known as 1 NZSAS. For reasons of national security and to ensure no current operations or personnel are compromised, much about this unit and its activities will remain forever secret. This is what we can reveal.
NZSAS, baby. Let's get it. It's gonna be a good one.
Every year, the 12,000 men and women of New Zealand's Defence Forces are issued a discreet invitation by the NZSAS to apply to join their number. Those who respond will discover this is no ordinary job application.
12,000 people in the New Zealand military trying out for SAS. Woo! We talking about select few, and it's gonna get smaller.
The Special Forces soldier is trained in a number of military disciplines, and that right there is what distinguishes them from the conventional soldier. What you have is what are known as the 1%ers. They're the uppermost 1% in both mental aptitude as well as physical aptitude.
They talking about that 1% over here in the United States. We talking about the motorcycle gang 1%ers. In the United States, it's the top 0.025%. Very small percentage in U.S. Special Forces. It's tiny. So over there, they talking about the 1%. Yeah, let's see what they got.
It will demand 2 years of utmost dedication and personal sacrifice before they'll discover if they have what it takes to join the exclusive 1%. And it all begins with the infamous selection course, seen here for the first time.
Day 1 SAS selection. Boy, get it ready. Fixing to crush some skulls, rip out some hearts. That's what we fixing to get at right here. Let's get it started.
Selection will submit these 50 volunteers from the Army, Navy and Air Force to a series of tests designed to meet the minimum standards for an SAS soldier. Tests such as an ability to survive days without food or sleep and to safely navigate unfamiliar terrain, always against the clock. By the last day, whoever is left standing will have gone through physical and mental hell. Unaware of what lies ahead, the volunteers have been standing resolute since dawn, trying to hide any signs of nerves.
I'm going to make an argument that the guys left standing will not have been through hell. They will have been through a task that was hard, but to them, it wasn't insurmountable and it wasn't hell. And to some of them, it was enjoyable.
Each knows few will make it through the next 10 days. What they don't realise is some won't even make it through today.
What was going through my mind was, just settle down and, it's a long road to home. It was built up to be something that is extremely difficult.
Not knowing what's going to happen and how you're going to react when it starts to happen.
It's the hardest challenge that they've had to undertake in their military careers to date.
Stand there! East!
With the famous sand-coloured beret and blue belt as their prize, the volunteers must be prepared to give their all.
For a number of you, you're going to be confronted with some very demanding challenges. It will really test you both physically and mentally. I would rather have no one pass the selection than lower the standards. Put your best foot forward, and I wish you all the best.
The key to special operations, no one passes if we have to lower the standards. So, therefore, the standards never change. And either you meet the standards and you continue, or you don't meet the standards and you go home. Just had a SEAL training class out there. I heard they had 6 graduates from Hell Week. 6. The standard hasn't changed. Still the same standard. And there was clearly only 6 people in that class that could make the standard. Such is life. It is what it is. There ain't no equal opportunity in special operations. There's only the stand.
Next, some words of wisdom.
Look this way.
A veteran of missions in Malaya, Borneo and Vietnam, Honorary Colonel David Ogilvie is one of the unit's famous originals.
Initiative, resourcefulness, physical guts, mental drive, all the things that we're looking for from you. Give it heaps.
In everybody's mind, I think, when they enter selection is just imagine that when you're nearly at the top of that hill, that there's another hill beyond that.
Everybody was feeling the pain, but you had a guy on each side of you who was exactly the same.
And they lasted one day, including some supposedly very fit physical training people. I think that, the whole thing was a bit much for them.
Now comes their first surprise. The volunteers have to empty their packs for a full inspection.
What we have given them makes up 35 kgs. It's been checked prior to them coming.
But history has shown there's always temptation for some to lessen the load.
If you don't have some of those items, it makes you stand out.
Move!
Watching the volunteers' every move are fully trained SAS soldiers, each with an innate understanding of what the unit needs, because they've had to prove it to get here. And it means they know all the shortcuts to look for.
Yeah, can you be rattled? So we can all be rattled. That's how quick some people get rattled compared to others.
Those with missing items face a dressing down and are re-kitted.
Re-kitted. Shoot, you show up to muster without the right equipment, you might be going home. Cut them a little break right there. They gave them some extra gear.
Get changed into PT. Move.
These volunteers are as fit as they've ever been, following months of preparation. And they'll need to be.
We have to induce a certain amount of stress and mental fatigue in a very short time period, just to test the individuals and their ability to withstand all of that.
Shut!
Listen up. On the command move, this is what I want to see happen. Leaving your weapons where they are, double down. Move!
Straight away, they must prove their fitness levels. Anyone not meeting the 10-minute target will fail.
Straight away, baby. My son watches a ton of British cartoons and loves the phrase straight away. Straight away, they better run fast enough or they're going to go home.
When you want something in life, you've got to go after it. I came along very fit. I wanted to get in there. Nothing was going to stop me. Nothing. And I mean nothing. And they really gave it to me.
954, 955.
Come on, man.
10-18.
10-18, what are you, come on. on! I hope they tell us how far it was.
Let's move over to the side there.
The first test of selection, and already one man's dream is over.
That's it.
I'm just gonna be honest with you. That dude right there looks like a box of donuts. He looks like a box of Hostess in the United States. We got them Hostess, maybe some crumpets over there in New Zealand. He looks like a box of donuts. Personally, that's what I think he looked like.
They don't meet the required standard of any of those fitness tests. They are removed.
Without pause, they are set a barrage of physical tests to which they must give maximum effort. And while some outperform, others crumble.
If you're lazy, you're going to have problems, eh? If you don't put the work in beforehand, it's going to catch you out.
Chin comes above and back down, pull up. Ensure that the legs stay.
I'm just gonna say this: they doing pull-ups on square bars. Square bars are not easy to do pull-ups on. There's a lot of grip strength involved in square bars. Let's get these pull-ups.
Actually hanging at all times.
All the way up. Guys get nervous before doing pull-ups and they lose all their upper body strength.
G1 requirement, no more than 130.
Here, no one escapes scrutiny, and a few have underestimated what's required.
You start to see people drop out in the first couple of hours.
In a heartbeat, they're back in fatigues as they're confronted with more hurdles. Tests that take several days in the conventional forces are crammed into the first few hours of SAS selection.
Let me tell you something. That buddy carry right there, years of buddy carry in wrestling. There ain't no easy way to do it. I tell the story, man. We were out at J. Robinson Intensive Training Wrestling Camp, 28-day wrestling camp, and we had buddy carry for 3 miles. So you had to carry your buddy. You and your buddy had to switch off for a 3-mile run, man. I remember, man, at least 1.5 miles, man. We tried to split it in half. 1.5 miles buddy carry. A1 legitimate, no gear, no guns, just slick, and it sucked. So these guys are getting it right now. A1 buddy carry.
We do all the physical tests that are required in the New Zealand Army. That's the standard that we set.
The testing grounds are not restricted to dry land, as time and time again, they're sent back into freezing water during the morning.
I'm just going to say this, them cats don't look like they can swim. I don't know what they taught them out there. I don't know what they doing. It looks like they can swim any stroke. Now they in full uniform, probably got boots on, but they don't look like they can swim. We're going to have to see what this water do to them. And they down there in New Zealand, that water ain't warm. It's cold water. You got the Antarctic right down there below that, cold water.
Move into the water.
But pushing the thresholds has been carefully calculated.
They compress everything together in one day.
And you think that if the whole selection's like this, you know, you're going to have to dig a bit deeper.
First man sitting down on this cone.
There's no respite and are straight into the next challenge.
Up that rope.
And by now, the body is starting to hurt.
When you get back down, you'll touch the ground, you get straight back up there.
They will be starting to feel fatigued.
So the hardest thing about climbing ropes isn't the actual muscles in your arms, like your biceps and everything else, your lats. It's your grip strength. Your grip strength just goes climbing rope. You see these guys falling off the rope, they ain't got no grip strength. I know in our Army, Special Forces, grip strength is huge. You're always carrying something in your hands. I imagine that they the same. They're getting after that grip strength right there on that rope.
Yeah, stop there. You have to go back, start again. Stop.
Endurance is probably the biggest one rather than physical strength.
One more shot. Hurry up.
The difference between this and the SAS that we saw in Australia, they talking to them a lot more here. They giving them a little gas. So kind of interesting, a little different technique.
Get up there. Stop.
It's only midday, but for some, the dream is over.
The selection course sorts out those who can actually put to one side the aggravation of the moment for the long-term purpose of, you know, finishing.
Was demanding physically, mentally. And I guess to a degree, emotionally.
Or just made you run everywhere. All the gear you had. Quite often the gear would be scattered from back of the barracks right down to headquarters because we wouldn't have it fitting properly.
The temperature is rising fast on day one of selection for the New Zealand SAS. Already 4 volunteers are on their way home.
They have a measure of military experience already. They are fit. They are well motivated. They are a lot tougher.
The volunteers have undergone rigorous psychological tests to determine if they have the compulsory physical, mental and emotional balance that the unit demands.
We use multiple sources, so we use the personality test, cognitive tests, we interview people, we look at their past performance. Past performance is one of the key indicators of future performance.
You may get people who are attracted to the unit who definitely not suited for service in the unit because of their backgrounds, their profiling.
If they don't meet the qualities, we can't recommend them.
Afternoon brings on the real business of the day. And there are some who are just hanging in.
The wolf is walking amongst the sheep. Yes, sir. That right there is the wolf. And those guys are the sheep.
They should be strong enough, fit enough to be able to take that into their stride and keep going.
1 8-kilometre forced march by foot, total 72 minutes to complete the task. Beware of oncoming traffic.
If they fail to meet the time, look for arrest, infringe in any way, they will be eliminated. Every footstep carries the added burden of 35 kilograms on their backs.
I was fortunate enough to come from the battalion where you carry your house on your back.
The combined load of the pack with survival gear, radios and weaponry is the equivalent of carrying 2 heavy suitcases. And with the clock ticking, it's all carried at a blister-inducing rate of 7 kilometres an hour.
7 kilometers an hour, that's solid. 5 kilometers an hour with a 70-pound ruck. Yeah, that's solid. Especially after the whole day they've had already. So I respect that. Solid.
As muscles cramp and leather boots rub toes raw, the field thins out. Even these seasoned soldiers.
Did you see that hill? They ain't on a 7-kilometer flat track. They had a little hill in there. It might have been a big one, but it was not flat.
Are starting to feel the effects of the day.
And you're starting to get blisters on your feet. You just got to cope with it.
The pack cuts into your shoulders.
It was going to hurt, but my focus was getting through.
If you look at pictures of soldiers, sometimes you see it's a little man who's carried the Bren gun. It's a little man who's carrying the machine gun. It's a little man who knows how to drive himself and has been doing that all of his life.
I can't say that enough, man. I've always been a little man. 5'7", 120 pounds in high school, 5'7", 160 pounds. College, I got up some weight. Always been a little man. Little man got to know how to fight because everybody going to pick on him. Little man got to know how to run because everybody going to try to race him. Little man got to know how to win and defeat giants.
While most have made it to the end, there are still those who are over the 72-minute time limit. And again, there is no second chance.
Well, you're gone.
After 10 bruising hours, those remaining are loaded into trucks and driven deep into country to face the brutal chase known as the Hare and Hounds. Although tired and sore, they must chase a fresh and fast SAS soldier, the Hare.
This is a maximal activity. You want to run as hard as you can for the given distance. You are to stop when told to stop. At no time are you to drop behind the 2 sweepers. Group 1, go!
Those volunteers on borrowed time are sent first.
So I'm going to make a point here. It looks like they've been in the water somewhere. It looks like they may have got them wet before they started this run. Subtle little nuance that I picked up on. They got wet before they started.
Stand by, go!
Therefore, at the end, they should be coming in around about the same time.
And these two legs, they weren't going to let me down.
To make matters harder, 2 more SAS soldiers act as sweepers, the hounds, and no one must finish behind them.
I'm going to say this. When I was in SEAL training, we had a cat, Green Beret, big, tall, skinny dude. My man was running 415 miles. No one could keep up with him. So believe me, that dude is the hair. That's a real runner right there. That cat can flat out run. Don't want to have to try to catch him. More worried about them dudes in the back, though, the sweepers. Don't want them breathing down my neck.
By now, it's not just wariness that is slowing them down.
I think the boots play a big part as well. For me, I didn't choose the ideal boot for selection. I mean, if you can't walk, you can't finish. It's your wheels, really.
All the way through there is pain. It is hard. It's very hard. You're starting to get blisters by this time. The boots just rub.
The thought of being beaten by the clock or caught by the hounds is enough to spur most on.
And there's one speed only. Just go for it.
With time ebbing away, there is one last push to the finish line.
You know, if the bloke behind you passes you, you better start moving.
As the faster runners reach the end, there is relief. But they've only made it through the first day of 10. Meanwhile, the stragglers are in danger of falling prey to the hounds. For the unluckiest, time has run out on selection.
If anybody was truthful, it drives you on. You're going, I'm still here today. No, I'm not.
I don't know about that, man. When people quit, they just quit. They disappeared in my brain, man. I don't know if it made me stronger. I don't think I really thought about that much. Okay, they're gone. Keep it moving.
After 11 hours, of the 50 men who started out believing they had what it takes for New Zealand's Special Air Service, 9 were wrong.
9 out of 50 ain't bad. That's like 20% attrition rate. Well, actually, it's an 18% attrition rate. That ain't too bad on day one. I'm okay with those numbers.
The first day will break you physically, so then you've got to turn it on mentally.
And as the remainder will soon discover, this was the easiest day.
Yes, sir! First episode, NZSAS, in the books, baby. We're going to roll these next ones over the next couple of weeks. Hope you enjoyed that bad boy.